welcome back to Biblical Greek Made Easy. This is Class 8 of Module 1, and today we're continuing on with our deep dive of pronouns. Last time we talked about first and second person pronouns. This week we're going to talk about the third person pronoun, which is autos, and all the different variations. It's going to do a couple other things too that are really important for us to learn. So we'll get to that in a second, but let me encourage you with a scripture verse. Psalm 37 verses 23 and 24 says, "The Lord makes firm the steps of the one who delights in him. Though he may stumble, he will not fall, for the Lord upholds him with his hand." And as you're translating Greek, I hope you feel that. I hope you feel that the Lord is close to you. As you engage with the Greek New Testament, I hope you feel that closeness. I can remember times as a student doing homework, translating Greek sentences, and it just feels real. Like this awareness that I was engaging with the scriptures in their original language, that felt like a holy experience to me. Was it hard? Yeah, at times it was hard. Sometimes it was frustrating, and sometimes I was a little bit lost, but it's a holy experience. And so I just want to encourage you with that. Keep going. Be aware of that holy experience that it is. Just because it's holy, just because it's good, just because it's kingdom-minded kind of stuff, don't think that it's not going to be difficult and challenging, because it totally is. And so that brings us to our tip of the day. Our tip of the day today is this. At times, you may have to massage the English translations of the Greek. What do I mean by that? Well, no two languages have a one-to-one correspondence to each other. Okay? And so there's times where you're translating a Greek sentence and you translate all the words and have all the parts, but the result is just kind of maybe ugly or messy in English. It just doesn't make a ton of sense. And so I use this language in class that we have to massage the translation a little bit. We have to use some flexibility of words and concepts and that sort of thing to make it make sense in English. The goal of translation is faithfulness to both languages, both Greek, the language we're coming from, and English, the language we're going to. So if you're translating Greek to English for a reader, even if that reader is yourself, we want to be faithful to English. We want to produce something in English that's going to make sense. If it doesn't make sense, then it doesn't do us a lot of good. But we also have to strive to be faithful to the Greek. And so you're getting to the point in your education of Greek that you're going to start encountering some more of those complex sentences that might need a little massaging. And we don't want to massage them too much and be far away from what the Greek says. But at the same time, we have to know that some of that flexibility is going to be necessary. This is what translators do all the time. They are aware of the limitations of the original language and the limitations of English and how those jive together. And we just have to make decisions. So translation involves some interpretation. It always does. Because like I said, no two languages fit together perfectly like this. Okay? There's always going to be some differences. With that, let's jump right into the content today. So why does this matter? So autos, the word that we're going to look at and learn today, is so important. It's a very powerful word that gets used a lot in the New Testament, like almost 6,000 times, 5,597 occurrences in the New Testament. How many know that if it shows up that much, we're just going to encounter it a lot, and we better know what autos is doing, or else we're going to get confused. We're going to miss things, okay? So that's why this matters. This just shows up so often, and it's doing a lot of powerful things. So we already know the first and second person personal pronouns, don't we? They look like this. We learned them last chapter, and looking through this list, hopefully you've had some time to learn some of these. Hopefully you made flashcards, or you're going through these in your own way of studying these. Knowing these first and second person pronouns will be so helpful as you're going along in the Greek New Testament, because they show up a ton, okay? But again, these are first person, I, me, my, we, ours, us, etc. And second person, you, your, to you, etc. And today we're going to learn the third person pronoun. Now, autos, that word autos, is the third person pronoun. It's going to mean he, she, it, they. The only difference is that just like in English, third person pronouns in Greek are going to have gender. So there's going to be a difference between he and she and it. Okay? And so we have to pay attention to that gender. So here you see I've put the nominative, genitive, dative, accusative words in English. So for nominative, we're going to say he, she, it, and they. Those are the subjects that you would use for a sentence. For genitive, it's going to be the possessive, of course. So it's going to be his or hers or its or theirs if it's plural. In the dative, it's going to be this indirect object form. So to him, to her, to it, or to them. And then the accusative, it's going to be the direct object form. So him, her, it, them, etc. And this is good to practice because you have to know these English words that we translate them to. Sometimes I have students who understand the Greek, but they struggle to understand what that's going to translate to in English. So make sure you have some familiarity with these. So let me show you the autos paradigm, okay? This is just one word. It's not multiple words. It's just one word. But as you can imagine, since it's going to stand in for all sorts of nouns, singular and plural, all genders, all sorts of roles in the sentence, we're going to have one of these masculine, feminine, neuter paradigms. Here's what it looks like. It looks like this. Now, good news, bad news. The bad news is there's a whole bunch of forms of autos, okay? Don't get scared at that. The good news is you already know these endings. You've seen these endings a lot. This is a normal 2-1-2 paradigm, okay? Second declension masculine, first declension feminine, second declension neuter, okay? And actually, you essentially see the definite article tagged on the back of most of these words, right? Very similar. It's exactly what we would expect. This isn't a new set of endings you have to learn. These are the ones we've come to see again and again, okay? So let me encourage you with that. If you picked one of these at random, if it was floating in space, could you parse it? I hope so, right? Just a couple things to notice. Notice for dative singular again, we have the iota subscripts. We've come to expect that. That's the red flag. It's screaming at you that it's dative singular, okay? Notice in the genitive plural, we have that own ending all the way across. It's wonderfully regular. We're happy to have those. So anyway, these are the endings that you've seen before, and that should be some good news. Now, if autos is acting like a pronoun, by that we mean it's standing in for another noun, it's going to take its gender and number from the word it is replacing, okay? So if Bob is the guy that we're talking about, and we're going to say he, the pronoun's going to take its gender and its number from Bob, so masculine singular, right? If it's those guys that it's going to fill in for, then it's going to be masculine plural because it's guys and it's plural, okay? So remember that the word the pronoun replaces is called the antecedent, that thing that comes before that we're referring back to, okay? Now, autos will always agree in gender and number with its antecedent, okay? It's always going to agree in gender and number, okay? So if it's Bob, if it's a masculine singular, we're not going to make that a plural. We're not going to use a plural form of autos because Bob's singular, right? And so that's the way that's going to work. That's always going to be consistent. Now, case is going to come from its function in the sentence, okay? However that form of autos is being used, if it's the subject, it's going to be nominative. It's the direct object, it's going to be accusative, etc., okay? Now, there's 3 uses of autos that I want to teach you, and these are really important. This is the diversity of autos and how it shows up in the New Testament and the rest of the Greek language. The first usage is what we've been talking about. It's that personal pronoun. This is the one we've seen. It works very similar to other pronouns. He, she, it, they, etc. It's that long list that I just showed you there with the autos forms. That's how it's going to show up. And this is the most common usage. Probably over 70% of the usages in the New Testament of autos are going to be that third person personal pronoun. Okay? That's what we want to look at first. Let me give you a couple sentences that show you how that works. The first sentence there, autoi ton theon opsantai. Opsantai is our verb. You don't know that one yet. That means they will see. It's a future. Autoi, our version of autos there. Can you parse that for me? And then we have ton theon there. What part of speech, what role is ton theon going to play in the sentence? Yeah, it's accusative, so it's going to be the direct object, right? So we have a nominative, we have a verb, and we have a direct object. Let's put those together. Autoi, since it's masculine plural, is going to be they. And then opsantai, remember I said means will see or they will see. They will see. And then ton theon, God. They will see God. Good. From the Beatitudes, you may recognize, the Sermon on the Mount. Look at that second sentence. Paralambane auton ha diabolos eis tein hagion pollen. All right, so we start off with our verb, paralambane. You don't know that one, but that means he takes, or we'll probably translate it as a historical present. He took. Now we have our form of auton. Can you parse auton there for me? Masculine, accusative, singular, right? Good. Now we have ha diabolos. That's our, you may not know that word, but can you tell me the case gender number? Yeah, if you look at the definite article out in front of it, you probably can, right? Masculine, nominative, singular, ha diabolos. That means the devil. So that's going to be our subject. The devil, paralambane, took. And then we have auton, him. Okay, auton is masculine, accusative, singular, so it's going to be him. The devil took him, and then eis tein hagion pollen, into the holy city. Okay, this is from when Satan tempts Jesus and takes him into the holy city, and he's going to take him up to the pinnacle of the temple and tempt him to jump off. And Jesus isn't going to fall for it, but that's the sentence we have there. Notice auton showing up there as the third person personal pronoun, meaning him. Now, second usage is what we call the adjectival intensive. Okay? So autos can also function intensively when it's used like an adjective. Now, just a second ago, we talked about autos as a pronoun, meaning it stands in for a noun. We don't have the noun present, we have the pronoun in place of it. Those examples we just looked at were like that. Now, if autos is functioning like an adjective, what's that going to mean? Can you tell me? It's going to mean that it's modifying a noun. So we're going to have a form of autos present, but we're also going to have a noun present, okay? So it's going to modify a noun. And if it's doing this, we're going to call it an adjectival intensive. What it's going to do is whatever noun it's modifying, it's going to make it stronger. And I'm going to show you an example of that. And you see what I have here. It intensifies the force of the word. And I have an example here, ego eimi. This isn't actually an adjectival intensive. This is a verb with a pronoun. So for example, it's doing a similar thing though. So eimi is the verb that means I am. We learned that a couple lessons ago, right? Eimi means I am. Now, we don't need a pronoun with that. Eimi by itself means I am. However, if we put ego on the front of it, which means I, we're sort of repeating that idea of I am. So it makes it a lot stronger, okay? It means I am, or I myself am. And honestly, it's a little hard to translate over into English what's going on there, but we can see in Greek that that's stronger than just saying Amy. When the guards come to arrest Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and they say, hey, we're looking for Jesus of Nazareth. Is he here? Jesus doesn't say, Amy. The Gospel of John tells us, he says, ego eimi, like I am, right? He's not hiding. He's, gladly owning that title, that sort of thing, as he goes to get arrested. So ego eimi is one of those ways we see Greek is going to be redundant in order to intensify things. An adjectival intensive is similar to that. So this will usually be in the predicate position. Now, where have we heard that language before? The predicate position. Yeah, when we were talking about adjectives a few lessons ago. Do you remember this? Okay, let's do a little review. So remember the predicate usage of the adjective. This is where we supply to be to some sort of an adjectival construction. And we said it this way. We said if there's no article with the adjective, but there is an article with the noun, we're going to call that the predicate position. And it's functioning like a predicate adjective. So in our examples here, ha logos agathos, notice we have a definite article with the noun, which is logos, but agathos, our adjective, doesn't have a definite article. And so we call this the predicate position. We're gonna translate that as the word is good. Okay? Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that grammatical construction of the predicate position and we're gonna apply that to autos. Okay? We're gonna apply that to autos. So if we have autos with a noun, and the noun has the definite article, but autos doesn't, we're going to try this option of the adjectival intensive. Okay? And let me give you a couple examples of this, of how it's going to show up. So, autos ha apostolos. Apostolos, you probably know, means apostle. And we have a definite article with it. That is our noun. And then we have autos there. Okay? Now, this is the predicate position. Again, as we just said, we have a definite article with the noun, but not with the adjective. So we're going to translate this little phrase. They're both nominative. By the way, notice we're noting that they agree in case, gender, and number. Autos and apostolos do. And so we're going to say, the apostle himself. Okay, we're going to add that extra emphasizer, okay? That's the best way we can do it in English. Maybe you can think of some other ways. Maybe you underline apostle a bunch of times, or maybe you circle it or something like that, right? But to do it with language, typically we would say the apostle himself. It's a way to enforce that it was the apostle who did whatever the verb is, okay? Look at the second example there. Autos gar ha Herodes apostelos ekratesen ton ioanein. All right. You see autos at the beginning there, nominative masculine singular. You see gar, which means for. And then you see ha Herodes. This is a name. Can you tell me what name this is? It's Herod. Yep, good. Herod. And notice that's nominative masculine singular too. Even if we didn't know that from the name, we see the definite article out front. So that's going to match with autos. So those are going to go together some way. Then we have apostelos ekratesen ton ioanein. So that means sending arrested John. Sending, he arrested John. So we're going to translate this. We're going to see autos as emphasizing this idea of Herod, okay? So for Herod himself sent and arrested John. Make no mistake who it was that arrested John. It wasn't someone else. It was Herod himself. The author is emphasizing that point. Herod is the bad guy. He's supposed to be the ruler of the Jews, and he's supposed to be one of them. He's Idumean, but he's a bad guy, and he's the one that's going to arrest John, and we find out later actually loses his head in the process, right? So the author here is using autos to emphasize that it's Herod. It wasn't anybody else. It was Herod himself who sent and arrested John. Okay, notice both of those have autos in the predicate position. It doesn't have an article with it, but the noun that it's modifying does. Now, we say most of the time with that. When I say you have to massage the translation sometimes, some of you want really ironclad rules that work all the time. Unfortunately, language doesn't work quite that way, okay? Language has a range of flexibility, and so I want you to know these three options for autos and try different ones. Third person pronoun is an option, adjectival intensive is another, and we're going to talk about a third one. But have these three tools in your tool belt and be able to use them in different ways. Let's talk about the third option. This is the least common, but we call this one the identical adjective. So you see here, autos can also function as what we call an identical adjective, where it's going to mean the same. If you're using vocabulary cards for this, you may have noticed that when you get to the autos card on the back, it means he, she, it, or same. And you go, where does the same come from? That seems weird. This is the least common of the three, and this usage will usually be in the attributive position. Now, what do we mean by attributive? Well, this is another adjectival grammatical term, okay? Remember when we talked about the attributive usage of adjectives, we said if there's an article with the adjective, then it must either be attributive or substantival, okay? And the way we tell is there another noun showing up? If there's not a noun showing up, that's substantival. If there is a noun showing up, then we're going to assume that it's attributive. And notice we gave a couple examples here. Ha agathos logos, the good word, or ha logos ha agathos also means the good word, okay? This is the attributive position. And if we see autos showing up in this sort of construction, we're going to translate it as an identical adjective meaning same. Now let me show you an example of this. Kai pollen apelthon praseuxata ton auton lagan. And again, a participle that you don't know there, and again, going out, he prayed the same thing. Notice we have ton auton lagan, the attributive position there. Ton auton is what case gender number? Can you parse it for me? Even if you struggle with auton there, you see the ton out front to help you. It's masculine accusative singular. Going to agree with lagan there, of course. So rather than saying like, he prayed the word itself or something, we're going to translate it as same. Now you literally hear this means he prayed the same word. But really, we would say in English, he prayed the same thing, right? Sometimes we'll say a word of prayer, and that's kind of where we get this idea. But here, to massage it a little bit, like the tip of the day suggests, we would pray, he went out and prayed the same thing. Okay, so notice auton there, we're treating as an identical adjective and we're translating it as same. So have those three tools in your tool belt because those are going to be important. We're going to see different usages of autos show up and just know those grammatical tricks, but at the end of the day, know that there's some flexibility there. So let's review. Today we learned the three uses of autos. The third person personal pronoun usage, which is the most common. The adjectival intensive, where it's going to intensify a noun, where we say like Herod himself, or Jesus himself, or the apostle himself, or Sarah herself, or Mary herself, something like that. Or the apostles themselves, it could be plural. And we learned the identical adjective, where we're going to translate autos as same. So review those options, do the homework and practice using autos in all of these different ways. Remember to have these tools in your tool belt so when you encounter autos in context, you can try these different ones, you can run them through the different options and see which ones makes the most sense grammatically and linguistically. Happy studying, and we'll see you next time.